Hi, hello everyone. This is Dr. Brahmayya, Associate Professor, Department of S&H, dealing with chemistry, MLR Institute of Technology, Hyderabad. Today I am going to talk about galvanic cell. So, the overview is galvanic cell, construction, working, and IUPAC representation of the galvanic cell. This is the overview. So, galvanic cell and its construction. So, galvanic cell is a system in which a spontaneous oxidation and reduction reactions takes place and generates electrical energy. For example, Daniell cell. What is Daniell cell? Daniell cell is a zinc and copper electrolytic cell, electrochemical cell. Sorry. In 1836, John Frederick Daniell introduced this Daniell cell. On behalf of his name, this was popular. So, what is the main function of the galvanic cell is to convert chemical energy into electrical energy. Chemical energy into electrical energy. Very simple to remember. So, construction of the galvanic cell. Look at here. Construction of the galvanic cell. One is oxidation or anodic half cell and other one is reduction or cathodic half cell. We can call it as oxidation, where the oxidation is taking place, that will be at anode. So, it is a anodic half cell. The other one is reduction or cathodic half cell, where the reduction will be taken place. Generally, two electrodes are there, anode and cathode. This is oxidation and this is reduction. Here is losing of electrons of any metal and here is gaining of electrons any metal, the taken electrodes. So, Daniell cell is an example of galvanic cell having zinc and copper electrodes. Zinc and copper electrodes. The first half cell consists of zinc electrode dipped in zinc sulfate solution. Second half is made up of copper electrode dipped in copper solution, copper sulfate solution. So, we can see here zinc electrode is dipped in its corresponding zinc sulfate solution, electrolyte, and whereas copper electrode is dipped in copper sulfate solution, its corresponding copper sulfate electrolyte solution. Both half cells are connected externally by metallic conductor and internally by a bent glass tube having saturated solution of a strong electrolyte like KCl. Instead of the KCl also we can go ahead for the KNO3 also. So, some other electrolytes. Here we took KCl is the electrolyte called salt bridge. It acts as bridge between the two half cells. It acts as bridge between the two half cells. What is here? Two electrodes are taken, zinc and copper, and they are dipped in their corresponding sulfate electrolytes, and then these are internally connected by the salt bridge, externally connected by the metallic conductor. It implies that it will receive the electricity after the spontaneous reactions happen. Working of the galvanic cell. See here, when two half cells are connected externally by a wire through a voltmeter and spontaneous redox reaction takes place at the electrode. So, we can see here, this is a copper electrode, this is a zinc electrode. So, zinc is more readily loses electrons when compared to the copper. So, that zinc is acting as a electrode and copper is acting as a cathode. Both are metals, they can lose the electrons. This is the fact. And when compared to the zinc and copper, zinc is more readily loses its electrons, and it is dipped in the zinc sulfate. Copper electrode dipped in the copper sulfate, and this is externally connected with the metallic conductor and internally connected with the salt bridge. It is generally KCl. It is a gelatin substance which is mixed with the KCl material. So here the voltmeter can recognize the electron flow. It implies that the current, passing of the current, it will be noticed here in the voltmeter. So here is the zinc loses its electrons, Zn plus 2 electrons, and these 2 electrons will be gained by the Cu2 plus 2 electrons gives rise to Cu. This is the reduction reaction, and this is the oxidation reaction. So this is the same which was mentioned here. The working of the galvanic cell. So at anode, oxidation takes place with the liberation of the 2 electrons as discussed just now. Zn gives rise to Zn2 plus 2 electrons oxidation or de-electronation. De-electronation means it implies that it is losing its electrons. At cathode, reduction occurs and Q plus ion is reduced to metallic copper. So Cu2 plus can take 2 electrons. These 2 electrons by taken by Cu2 plus ions, and it will become a copper metal finally. The overall reaction is Zn plus Cu2 plus vice versa Zn2 plus Cu. So this is a both side to and fro reaction. As the connection is complete, the flow of electrons will be externally from the anode to cathode, very clear, and internally from the cathode to anode. We can see in this figure back side the flow of electrons is like this, and the ions will be like this. So this is the complete circle of the flow of electrons and the flow of reaction and ions movement. The flow of current is due to the difference in the electrode potentials of the both electrodes. The flow of current is due to the difference in the electrode potentials of the both electrodes. This is the difference what we are going to find in the voltmeter. The potential difference in the cell is called the EMF, electromotive force. The total potential difference will be noticed as a EMF. It is electromotive force, the complete force which was recognized in the voltmeter and is measured in the volts. It can be measured by the potentiometer. We can regularly see in the laboratory. The flow of the current becomes slow after using the electrodes for a long time because of the polarization of the electrodes. The flow of the current becomes slow after using the electrodes for a long time because of the polarization of the electrodes. So why it is becoming slow? In the continuous process of the spontaneous reactions, it will slowly stops its working after a long period, after a long time, and it will become a polarized materials. Salt bridge. What is the function of the salt bridge? We already discussed. At this stage, the salt bridge comes to the aid and restores the electrical neutrality of the solution. The neutrality of the solution, the Zn SO4, zinc sulfate and copper sulfate, they will become neutralized through the salt bridge KCl when the zinc 2 plus ions are increasing. The Cl minus ions from the salt bridge will neutralize this Zn2 plus ions, and whereas Cu2 plus ions will release the SO4 2 minus ions. So these will be neutralized by K plus ions, K2SO4, potassium sulfate. So this is the function which is going to be happened in the two half cells. In the cathodic half cell is copper plus SO4 2 minus will give rise to K2SO4, and in the anodic cell zinc 2 plus Cl minus from the salt bridge will become ZnCl2. Salt bridge is a U-shaped glass tube containing concentrated solution of an inert electrolyte such as KCl, KNO3 and K2SO4. These won't react with the metals. They just will conduct the medium through the ions or paste of the inert electrolyte whose ions don't take part in redox reaction and don't react with the electrolyte in agar-agar medium or gelatin substance. Agar-agar medium is a nutrient material. Generally, it is used in the biochemistry labs for the food purpose of the microorganisms. So this is the salt bridge. Functions of the salt bridge. So salt bridge helps to complete the circuit by allowing the ions to flow from the one solution to the other without mixing the two solutions. It helps to maintain the electrical neutrality of the solution in the half cells. In both anodic and cathodic half cells are oxidation reaction and reduction reaction, they will be neutralized by this salt bridge, transferring the ions. By movement of the ions, the neutrality of the reaction will be happened in the galvanic cell. So the working is copper and zinc exist in ionic form Cu2 plus Zn2 plus as we discussed, and they are in the aqueous solution. But in the electrode, they exist in the neutral form copper and zinc. The zinc and copper electrodes are connected by wire and through it the electrons will flow. The electrons will flow through the wire. Copper has strong pull for electrons when compared to zinc. Already we discussed this one in the earlier stage. Zinc is more readily loses its electrons, so that copper will pull the electrons from the zinc. Zinc, which is in neutral state, loses 2 electrons. It is a oxidation, as we know very well. Due to the loss of electrons, the zinc will get separated from metal electrode as zinc 2 plus and moves to the solution. These zinc 2 plus ions will be neutralized by the Cl minus ions, as we know. The electrons move through the wire towards the copper electrode, and the copper 2 plus ions in the copper sulfate solution accept the electrons and converts to its neutral state Cu and moves towards to the metal electrode. Zinc is losing electrons, which is oxidation, therefore reacts as a anode. Copper 2 plus is gaining electrons, which is reduction, therefore it acts as a cathode. So this is the simple thing to understand the galvanic cell. This is the working style of the galvanic cell. So this is the wire. These are the zinc 2 plus ions, oxidation half cell. This is the copper 2 plus ions, reduction half cell. It is a reduction, it is oxidation. Zinc gives rise to zinc 2 plus aqueous plus 2 electrons. Copper 2 plus aqueous gains 2 electrons from this zinc, becomes Cu, half cell reactions. This is the complete process of the mechanism of the galvanic cell. Representation of the galvanic cell. The electrode showing oxidation reaction is anode and the other electrode where reduction occurs is cathode. As per IUPAC convention, the anode is always represented on the left hand side and cathode always represented on the right hand side of the cell. So anode half cell, this is left hand, cathode half cell, this is a right side. So this is a actually salt bridge. Electrode slash anode solution, salt bridge, cathode solution slash electrode. This is the representation. So Zn solid, Zn2 plus aqueous 1 molar solution. This is a salt bridge. Cu2 plus ions, aqueous 1 molar solution of CuSO4. This is also ZnSO4 1 molar solution. And finally at cathode reduction will happen, so Cu solid. This is the representation of the galvanic cell. The electrode on the left, that is anode, is written by the writing the metal first and then the electrolyte. The two are separated by a vertical line or semicolon. The electrolyte may be represented by the formula of the whole compound or by ionic species, and concentration may also be mentioned in the bracket. So here they are mentioning the concentration in the 1 molar solution like that. and it is aqueous solution. Zn is a solid. So Zn by Zn2 plus salt bridge Cu2 plus or semicolon or line slash Cu. The cathode of the cell at which the reduction takes place is written on the right hand side, and in this case the electrolyte is represented first and then the metal. The two are separated by a vertical line or a semicolon. Here we can semicolon, or we can also vertical line. We can make it like that. So we can see here, this is the representation. Zn semicolon or line Zn2 plus 1 molar solution salt bridge with the two lines Cu2 plus 1 molar solution semicolon or one line Cu. This is the representation. This is the overall view. This is the overall view of the galvanic cell representation. In the summary, the presentation covers what is galvanic cell and its principle and how it will be constructed and how it works. Presentation also covers the salt bridge in galvanic cell and IUPAC representation of the galvanic cell. This is the summary of the presentation of the galvanic cell. Thank you.